Gonna shit. What? Hello, pussies. Continuing part 2 anatomy. I'm gonna do side views and how to worship the letter K. All right. All will be explained in due time. Now, why don't I just quickly go over the side profiles that I forgot to draw last time, and then I'm gonna do just a couple of basic poses and stuff. Let's start off with the mile again. From the side, here's a circle to indicate his brain. And then, what I like to do, cause it's cartoony, is make it look kind of animal-like. What I mean by that is like, well, have you ever seen the side profile of like a kitten's head? That's essentially it. That's what that like kind of style is. If you can draw a kitten, you can draw like the side profile of just about any character you want. Now, this is sort of how do you even explain this? You're gonna have to learn to like learn by just watching it happen more than just me explaining it, because it's hard to put these to words. But here you have like this little muzzly area right there that indicates where the nose and the mouth is gonna be, as apart from this area of the head, which is shaped kind of like that, like similar to a side profile of a shoulder or the deltoid. It's sort of doing this doohickey, but to indicate a nose. I mean, I'm stylizing it. You can just make it more broad like that, and then you come down with like the chin and all this, and then it goes like this doohickey. Or you can make it more of a Bergstein sort of nose. You do it like that or whatever. Or you can give it a little plump nose. I don't know what your guys' preferences out there are. You can do whatever you want. But in any case, I'm gonna just cover the type of like noses and side profiles I like to do, because it's easy to remember. Now, right down here, the jaw always goes up kind of like this. And then this is where you would usually put an ear. It's not really halfway between the face or anything. I would say probably like just slightly to just sort of closer to the back of the head, I suppose. And you do that sort of detail, that like number 5, 6 sort of detail in there to indicate the inner ear or whatever. And then you get like the side profile of the eye, which looks kind of like a compassy sort of thing, like that. And it's usually a distance away from like the nose bridge area or whatever, you see, like that. It's never like usually like super up close to where the nose is, unless of course you would like show the cheek right here or whatever, and this is just like this is like a crazy, like, you know, like you're looking at like darn near the back of their head, and the ears right here, the nose is right there. And then you might see a little bit of like eyelash right there. That's the only instance where I would see you putting it that close to the bridge of the nose or whatever. But typically at like just a standard, you're at their side. You're gonna be there's gonna be a bit of a distance drawn between there. And then the mouth doesn't come all the way back here or anything. I mean, it can if you want them to look sort of off, but it usually ends up like right around here or something. You typically, this is like like I said, it's like the muzzle area. That's usually how that's supposed to look right there, right? And another thing, for side profile eyes, they're always supposed to be this shape. They're not supposed to look like fucking like an entire like regular ass sort of like eye that you would see from a front view, and then you have it to the side right there. It's not gonna be like fucking like Egyptian eyes, or the way they do like hieroglyphs or whatever like that, like, right? You're not gonna have like any kind of fucking Cleopatra thing going on there. You just it's gonna look like this, okay? Like that, like the triangle, like a triangle. Always worship triangles and circles, baby. That's how you do it. And with the neck thing here, because I'm doing a male, typically we have like the fucking strong boy hunch right there that goes like that or whatever, for like the neck area. If you're very like, if you have like chimpanzee DNA and you're kind of like, you know, Joe Rogan like or something, your head might do like this sort of thing or whatever, where you don't really have a back of the head, you're just all neck right there, and then you're just like, you know, this is just a whole fucking man right there, right? A brick chin, you can't penetrate this armor, that kind of guy. See, that's like the utmost exaggerated form of that, but I mean, this is a young man right here. He has a little ways to go, so he's not gonna look anything like that. So you have that for the neck. Right here you have like the clavicle, collarbone sort of area. Again, this sort of, that spot kind of comes out like that, and then that connects to the pectorals, which typically lines up to the shoulders. Now, it's never usually like lined like, okay, like leveled like this, where you have like the clavicle, then you have the shoulder, and you have the pecs and everything. It's angled like that. Everything is kind of a converging line in the body. Everything's sort of angled, like in like diagonals and shit. You don't really have, there's not too many areas that are like completely straight there, right? Now, when I like kind of pushing forward here, go towards like how the back is curved, if you have good posture or whatever, right? You have like a dip down here towards like the lower middle part of the back, and this is usually where like your ribs and shit are like housed right there. So I usually like to go in and have like, you know, this shape for the back, this shape for like the lung area, and then have that go down for the abdominals, the abdominals. Let me get rid of this. And okay. And let's see here. Back to the pencil. And then you do this for the abdominals, and again, you have a lot of converging lines and stuff. Like, see how like these two lines sort of like have a point where they would meet if you continued them, and these lines right here would have a point where they meet when you continue them. These lines, the direction of the nose and everything, like there's a lot of fucking like sort of in its stagnation, because there's so much like momentum in the way it's drawn. It gives a sense of like liveliness without having to move the character, you know? It just looks right. So okay, and I'll have to like the last one, I'll have to like expand this a bit. Now here's the crotch and ass area, and there's the boy's bulge, and there's his bum right there. The audience loves a good bum. Let me add a little bit of an indication hole for where the arm would go or whatever, right? Also, let me do this as well. Sometimes you have to break these up like they're a toy, you know? I mean, if you're super experienced, you don't have to do all this shit, but just like, you know, here's like the little socket area where you would have like the legs be. Here's a little socket area where it would have the arms be, and they're never usually like a regular circle, right? Because, you know, flesh and blood human being kind of has like, you know, more complicated shape, so it's more like a weird ass diamond shape. Or for like the pelvis area, it's like that or whatever. You have to really picture like the holes, like the areas where like underwear would go, right? So I mean, you have this sort of situation going on for like the pelvis region, or like the groin, as they call it, right? The groin. So like I mean, I like to think of these as like kind of like advanced mannequins or something. It really helps in the long run once you like clean up everything. And I should definitely, like it was requested before, make like a tutorial, or like just sort of a how-to for like line work for characters like these, because I'm just doing sketches overall just to get like the basic shapes down, and so I can like, you know, break up some of these videos just to focus on very specific things, right? So look forward to that or whatever. I don't know, this one, the anatomy shit is gonna take a while to really try to like get through properly, because there's so much to it. But in any case, I'm willing to go right ahead and show off some of those some of those things there. Little tips and tricks. Now here we're coming down with like the thigh area. Here again with the kneecap area. Now you can differentiate like the thigh and like the calf, just like that, because right here is gonna be that back of the knee shit right there. They're usually like the muscles are kind of differentiated in that way for the most part. So I mean, again, just break it up like it's sort of a toy, like there's like segments to it or whatever, just to understand it. But not with like super primitive like baby shit basic shapes like squares and stuff, because that can mess you up for like just organic shapes in general. I know there's a lot of people who like try to teach people to like, you know, just put them in a little box and do all that little doodads and shit, and then, you know, you'll be fine. Everything's just little boxes. But I mean, like, in reality, everything's like full of curves and stuff. Like, there's not a straight bone in your body, like I was saying before. So I think it just helps to like build more like actual like physical character there. So again, we're coming down here. Let me go back explain this part. We're coming down here again with the feet, and here's a little horseshoe part right there. So it looks like he's just standing on a little like a hoof, and you go here back here with the heel, which is sort of like that shape, right? This front shape is like this. And right here, it's that duck bill sort of like shape I was talking about, where it kind of dips right there. You know, you have like what is that? What do you call that? Like the curve of the sole of the foot or whatever. So you have that, and I'm just gonna do like, you know, like a shoe shape instead of like all the toes and everything here. You know, just for the basic outline of everything. So there you have that, and I'll come in with the arm here. Now, again, with like I touched on it briefly with like the side of the arm, the deltoid or whatever, the shoulder that is, and you come down here. This usually doesn't have to conform to like the bend of the body going like this. Typically the back bends like this, but the arm just goes like straight down or whatever. Like usually kind of like it bends at the elbow just a tad. So I mean, let me make this sort of quickly right here, because I also have to go through and do the goil, and then we're gonna get into some basic standing poses, whatever, right? So let me erase some of that part right here, so I can get a clear indication of where I need to go with this. Now, it's so tricky to really like try to explain some of the methods here. So like the arm, the way I'm doing it is really muscular, but of course here's the deltoid, here's the bicep right here, just like the tiny little bit of it. Then I come down here and I kind of continue the line all the way to the forearm, which connects to the elbow right there. So it's not even really so much straight down as like going to like the fucking fingers right there, as it is like kind of like mechanized, and then you get like the fucking fingers right there or whatever, right? So like there's your elbow, and like here's your deltoid area, and then you kind of build it off of that shape instead of just like that or whatever. Which, I mean, again, you can do that, but this is just how I like to keep it in my mind, so it seems like there's more like strength behind what's going on, right? So with like the overall build of the character. So I mean, of course, you get rid of that. He doesn't have like a fucking gauntlet or anything like that. So yeah, that's a type of shape that we're gonna be working with right here. And like with the you know, the forearm area having like, I don't know what you would call that shape. It's sort of it's almost like kind of like a kimono shape, right? But elongated like a motherfucker. Like it's hugging and housing the other muscles for like the biceps and everything right there, and the all the way up to the shoulder. The triceps kind of just go like this. It's just a myriad of different like triangular kind of shapes up until you get to the wrist. And for the hand, just, you know, sort of again, a little box thing. Everything's just sort of to the side. And again, I should do another hand tutorial just for my benefit too. Also, I should mention, like I didn't before in the hand tutorial thing is that, like, the pinky out of all the fingers loves to be, like, the furthest away from all the other ones. Like, if you hold your hand out and you notice that your pinky is, like, likes to be the most separate out of everything else, out of all the other, like, fingers and shit, that's something to keep in mind whenever you're doing just, like, kind of like a really loose sort of looking hand. Now, this guy looks like he's trying to prepare for, like, a really timid handshake or whatever. Let me make the hand a bit smaller right here. Yeah, it's sort of good. That sort of fits or whatever. He's like, oh, I don't know if I should go for it. Was it gonna be a fist bump or what is this? So that's just about that for like the side profile. I mean, if you want to, like, indicate there's some more flesh back here, you won't really see the shoulder too much, but you would probably see part of the other leg come out like this, you know, and sort of like give it kind of like there's more of a sort of an unbalanced stance going on right there. You could yeah. See that? See, it looks a bit more complete. I love his timid, shaky hand. Let me put, like, little wiggle lines around there. He's like, fuck. Okay, all right. Let's flash forward. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I do that. Almost forgot. The pectoral area right here, where that's where that would connect. You get, like, the ribs right there, and the abdominals, like. Just like that. So I mean, that's about it. That's about it for like the side profile of the guy. Let me flash forward to the lady. Now again, same business here. You get the circle, you get the muzzle. Every good woman needs a muzzle. Oh, sorry, I don't know what the fuck that was. Anyways, now, for this, because I like to accentuate some of the cuteness and the cheekiness of the female characters, this is what I usually do with this. Let me get the rest of the head, like the brow area. The brow area is going to be pretty, again, focus on delicate shapes. Nothing's going to be too terribly well defined unless you want, like, I don't know, her to star in, like, a AAA game that doesn't need to be, like, fucking Game of the Year of 2019. Anyways, or 2020. What was it? Fuck it, I don't care. So for the muzzle area right here, right? This is something I like to do, where it's like you have the nose that comes down like that, but the cheek, and it's so subtle. You don't want to do too much or too little, but you come down here with the cheek like this, and then you kind of drive it back down just slightly with the chin area, and then you go into, like, the neck. Yeah, right? Oh, and another thing to note, Adam's apple. For the guy. That's how you would do that. So yeah, there you go. Oh, and also the like the neck muscle right here. As I'm going along, I'm, like, forgetting and remembering certain shit, so bear with me. The neck muscle right here usually connects to, like, the bottom of the ear, so that's where you'd see that sort of, like, situation, how that, like, collars that way. So that's part of the neck muscle. Anyways, back to this. Back to the woman. Yeah, that's how I like to like situate, like, this area right here with, like, the sort of like curve of the cheek all the way down from like the nose, cheek, and chin sort of thing. And before I'm completely done with the side profile things, I'll show more detail on, like, the mouth and the eyes. So now we're coming back down here with, like, the shoulder area, which isn't going to be super well defined like that. It'll be a little bit smaller than that, because, like I showed before, like, front facing, a lot of these characters will have you know, the shoulders sort of dip down like that, right, from the neck, so you have to indicate that from, like, the side as well, right? Let's see here. Ooh, this is gonna be one hell of a long video. Might take a while to render. So, like I usually like to do, fucking come down here with the clavicle area, and her, again, to reiterate from, like, the last video, part 1, the female ribs are going to be much smaller, so make sure to indicate that, and she's going to be a hell of a lot more curvaceous, too. So, when it comes to the curve of the back and everything, it'll be a bit more severe and noticeable. So you come down here with like the pelvis area, and it doesn't bulge out like that unless you're dealing with that kind of woman, but fucking it'll slope down like this, like curve all the way around. There's not gonna be any kind of road bumps that lead down anywhere else. There's an aerodynamic breeze leading from crotch to crack. Crotch to crack. Always remember that. Remember that, Pete. Remember that. Crotch to crack, Pete. Fuck. Why should anyone watch this? Okay, so come down here with this sort of egg shape, right? This indicating like the pelvis and like the butt cheek together, just so you get them all out of the way at once. Come down here again with like an indication of where the arm's gonna be. You know, I never want to get like the arm too much in the way before I'm like totally done with everything. Now let's see here. Legs sort of like they don't come straight down. It's again, nothing ever really comes straight down. This sort of curves inward like that. In order to, they use a conform, kind of like a what is it called, an Ouroboros or something? No, not that. The caduceus or whatever, where like you have like they're standing straight up clearly, right? But their body's curving around that straight line. So like things sort of like move around the orientation of that, and that's what gives it context. So when you're just dealing with no straight lines that you can see, you have to like curve things in a way that it like it leads to the eye seeing like, okay, this is actually a stable shape. So it's not like wigging the fuck out, right? You can't really like put a stake through that. But in any case, you come down here with the thigh area, connect that right here where, see how that continues like that, kind of like an infinity symbol, continues down there like that all the way to the calves, and those come out here almost sort of chicken leggy. And like last time, because I can't eyeball this shit, let me come down here and make her a little bit, we'll give it a little more space right there. Okay, that should be good. That should be good. She has volleyball thighs, everybody. Congratulate her on all the good work. It's a very very heavy calisthenics, cardiovascular exercise. That's why her this whole area is kind of like strong looking. It's plump. I just don't know how to make them look skinny. In any case, fucking now we come down here, right there. It's a fucking ankle area. Oh, I sound a little distracted. Just after talking about the legs and the ass, I'm like, communication slows down to a screeching halt. God, okay. So you come down here with the little hoof thing, right? Again, same practice. Heel, dip it in, and little duck bill. Not super long feet though. She's a lady. She doesn't need them. Okay, and again, why don't we just like give this a little bit of like, you know, a bit of shape right here. Okay, hold on. A bit of like, you know, like sort of other leg kind of bending out, standing a little bit more like outward, like this. And then you have indication of the fucking heel back there, I guess. Yeah. Something to that effect. There's a little bit, God, it's tricky to do the same thing twice. Because again, this is sort of a little bit out of my league because I still don't do a lot of side profile stuff, but you know, I'm learning with you as I try to teach as well. So, you know, same situation with the eye as like in the before times. Ear area, indicate that a little bit more. And the boobies would be like fucking, because her pectoral area is like right here, right? But unless you keep her flat for the most part, you don't do much else. But it would typically kind of dip down like that, and have some kind of, You don't always have to indicate like a fold, like an indication of like the shoulder, how it connects right there to the bottom of the arm. But you know, that's just the shape that you have to keep in mind sometimes. You know what I mean? And you could sort of just same way with the leg, almost like nah, you wouldn't see it that much from this angle, but you know, that's there's like the fucking like breast area for the most part, right? Sometimes it would be a bit hell, sometimes it's actually a little bit like lower, whatever. Not that there's like sag, so to speak, but just because like they don't really start that high often, or whatever, or even out. So let me readjust here. If you hear any thumping, that's because I'm using an iPad. That's how you double tap to erase. Not beating any hamsters. So yeah, you know, just something like that. And even then, if you have like a bit of a twist to the profile of the character, like a side view or whatever, you get sort of you can see a little bit more of the boob on the other side, I guess. Something like that. So I just feel like, because once I do this, I feel like I have to keep readjusting. I'm like, ah, shit, that doesn't actually look right. But you know, be prepared for that shit, because I'm still doing it, and I'm trying to like, teach what I know for the most part. You know, be ready for a lot of trial and error for this, but in any case, yeah, it's just about like that. You get the idea. So the arm, again, delicate lady, so this is a same idea for the most part, but you know, it's not gonna be like super muscular like this boy over here. Let me just draw that right here. I almost feel like I should use like a second layer for this. Now, belly button's probably gonna be around there, so like I said in the last one, it'll line up like that. I feel like I made this one a bit too short, like the forearm a little bit too short or whatever, but you know, yeah, all's well that ends well, fuck it. Come down here, basically the same thing, just like a lot skinnier or whatever. Come down here with the hand. Get the pinky out right there. Okay, the rest of the fingers right there, whatever. Yeah, a lot better than the last one, I would say. A lot faster than the last one, I would say. Shit. Like, okay. So now, let me get into sort of like the side profile of the faces more in detail. So you have the eyes right here, and you have the pupil right there, sort of like arched back. Take a look at my like eye tutorial video for more on that. Eye folds area is gonna be around here, and the brow would be. The brow usually ends up a little bit in front of the eye, from where it stops, just because of like how everything's shaped. So it'll be kind of like that, right? Not too many eyelashes here. You can almost indicate sort of a cheek, sort of like bend right there with the eye, like around the bottom of it, where it like comes down like that, but you don't do it all the way. And in some cases you would have like a mouth where you have like the lip right here, and you'd start up high, and then you'd go low right there, and then the bottom lip would come down a little bit like further right there, because like that comes down a little bit, like it's been an overbite. And then that's where you would have sort of like the mouth like that, right? If you don't want to, if you're like really just starting off, you want something super fucking simple, just come down here approximately where it would be, and then just like give it sort of like a, just like sort of do that or whatever. That's fine, I suppose. Let me see here. As I'm trying to justify it, it's like not. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe don't do it that way. In fact, I mean, I would probably bring the chin up a little bit closer here. And I've done it that way. Yeah, see, that's approximately like basically the same fucking thing. You know, you don't have to always connect it right there like that. For like simpler style, sometimes you don't even see it like super connected to the other side, so it just looks like it melds in. You know. Yeah, so something like that or whatever. And Same situation with the girl. A little bit bigger eyes, pupil right there, fold right here. Eyebrows, again, sort of like starts further ahead of the eye. Some lashes right there, I suppose, too. A little bit cheek indication, and mouth right there or something. And again, for like the female, it would probably be a bit more supple, softer or whatever. And it would come down more like this if you want to detail like the lips or whatever for that particular section of the mouth. But otherwise, you would just have something like that, right? And of course, for like things like, and I can get into that later in like a hair tutorial video, but like you'd have like sideburn area, and that's where like hairline would be or something. And of course, with the lady, you would have like a hairline that's sort of like sharper. Comes down here, that's like a bit more rounded or something like that. And like the back of the neck would have like hair that starts right there at like an angle like this. It wouldn't come down like that or whatever. I mean, you know, whatever. It depends. But like that's usually how that's supposed to look. And you would have this, probably not an Adam's apple for the neck area, but you wouldn't really see much of an indication of like a super strong neck right there, you know. So you wouldn't see the line. It would just be like blank for the most part. So, okay, with that pretty much done, the sides done, let me get into some other basic or like interesting poses or something. Nah, fuck it. Anyways, now, okay. Here's why I'm saying you need to learn how to worship the letter K, right? Or the letter R, or whatever. Because interesting stances, kind of like one I did recently, of my Space Girl, and I'll just use these as examples, and I might speed through some of the other ones, and then just explain how, like, not really just how to do them, but what makes them stand out specifically, as, like, the letter K kind of like stanzas, right? So let me just do the one where I had kind of her standing in a somewhat of a very cocky pose, I suppose, right? Like with the hands on the hip sort of thing. Neck comes down right here. And this is where I will bring up yet again the essence of converging lines. Now, the head's technically pointed up this way, but the chin's going down this way, and the shoulder is converging up here, going that way. So there's a lot of lines sort of like acting opposite to one another, but it's perfectly balanced. Again, like the Ouroboros sort of shape, like things move that way, that way, that way, that way, but it all finds its balance right there or whatever, right? So come down here with this, separate that from the shoulders, rib situation right here, and sometimes from this angle, I like to make like ribs look like fucking this shape or whatever, right? And then the arm, the shoulder area comes out like that, like little shoulder blade area, and then from there you would have like clavicles sort of be indicated right there, you know, and you'd have like the rest of the body swing out like that, so which is what I did, but I'm gonna have this pose not really end up this way majority of the weight. It's a lot of the pelvic weight's gonna be going down that way, so the legs are gonna have to compensate like that, which is kind of a backwards version of what I was talking about, of like the letter K. See, kind of like that sort of thing. So let me see here. So you divide this up, and you get like the hip popping out right there, because the crotch essentially is going to be down here. Like I said, most of the center of gravity is going to be right there, and the center of gravity is usually, well, for a lady, is going to be at her hips. You know, that's like the majority of like how like all the weight's going to be thrusted for the most part. They have like the rocking form, the rocking shape is going to be. So with that out of the way, come down here with the leg. I'm going to smooth that out a bit. The kneecap, and because I like that sort of bow-legged sort of thing, the knees always point inward, no matter what the stance is. Like I personally love that shit a lot. Whenever you have like a guy with a really masculine stance, the knees are usually pointing outwards or something. But I'll get into like a guy pose right after this one. So you come in with the foot, little hoof thing, sort of not really a duckbill right here, but this is gonna be like the just like I don't know what, just like a little like a rock, like a hut right there, just sort of house the foot area like that. See, I go right here, and because the hip is doing all that, it's a lot higher. Like the point where the femur bone, like the point where the femurs are gonna be, this is gonna be like a hell of a lot higher right here. So the knee is not gonna be in the same plane right there anymore, unless you like spread the leg like further out. I mean, the hips would have to be like leveled for that to work. So it's gonna the knees and the hips correspond like perfectly. So that's gonna be doing this sort of thing right here, and then because it's coming out, because the knee sort of points inwards, you see the calf come out like that, right? So you see the calf muscle right here to indicate all that. The feet will kind of be not really on the same plane because she's standing not super like in front of you. It's more like that, pointing that way. So let's see here. And I come down here and I add the fucking foot. Now, despite all this shit moving inwards, the feet can still point directly at you while the knees are like pointing inwards and shit, right? So, and again, it adds more of like a twist to everything, like converging lines and just interesting shit going all different sorts of directions. So as I have that shape right now, you can already see it sort of like there's a lot of like character and attitude to this, right? Let me see, add the belly button right there. And she's holding like a laser goon. So I come over here and I kind of like square out where the hand is. Here's like the flesh of the palm, and that's where like the thumb would be and stuff. And I'm basically gonna make this shape where she's like holding it but like pointing one finger out like away from like the trigger, right? It's let me see here. I have the reference pulled up on my computer. Let me zoom in on that hand. It's not entirely easy to do unless you really begin to understand how like everything's supposed to like fit and conform to like the hand and stuff. So I'm not gonna do it super detailed, but I'll just do it really quickly. But here's something I like to do, where you have sort of like the hand position is sort of in like the devil horn sort of thing, where like you have the pinky up a little bit like you're sipping tea. The ring and the middle finger are down here like this, but because the finger, the pointer finger, isn't like on the trigger, even if it was, it's a bit higher in this situation. And you know, the thumb is like lined up to like towards like the mid knuckles of everything. So that's basically the shape of all of it right there. See, that's what it would look like, kind of like some foam finger shit, like a football game, or a baseball game, or a butt board game, or a leg ball game, or a neck board game, or a... God, I'm losing my fucking mind. Anyways. Let's see here. The crazier you are, the better you all are art, everybody. So, you know, go nuts. And here's like the little laser area. That the rest of this shit doesn't really fucking like matter as much with like how the laser gun actually fucking looks, but that's basically it for that. Here's a technique that I learned, and I forgot who I learned it from. I don't know if it was Mark Crilly or anybody or anything. I don't know. But like I noticed something. Here's something that's really interesting. The reason I went with drawing the hand first instead of like drawing the rest of the arm was the fact was like it helps you to like unless you're like putting the arm like far away from the body, you might need to reassess it properly. But like you can put the hand pretty much anywhere you want, and like you would do this sort of thing. Now you like line up the bottom of the hand to like where the shoulder is. You come down like that and you make like a triangle, And that gives you an idea of pretty much how the elbows and like the rest of the arm is going to be positioned. So I come down here like this, and you always, for like this part of the arm right here, bring it out farther as far as you can towards where the elbow is supposed to be, so that when you come down to the arm part, all you have to do is this, and it just triangulates right there. You just have like a little triangle shape right there, and there you go. So you got that, you have essentially where the arm is supposed to be perfectly. And then I come down here, and this part of the shoulder is going to be raised up a little bit because I'm going to do the hand on the hip sort of action. Now, the overall shape for that is just going to be kind of a mitten, and again, the pinky's going to be risen up a bit, the pointer finger is going to be risen up a bit, but the ring and the middle always stand out as like being kind of together, like I also mentioned in the first hand video. So it comes down here, and the rest of the hand sort of disappears like that because, you know, you want to indicate that it's like hugging or making contact with the hip whatsoever. And you could do this in a couple of ways. You could just not show the elbow like that and indicate that it's like behind the arm like this, or like the arm is behind the body. So you can like keep it that way, and it would seem more or less fine depending on how you like pose the arm, or I mean like the hand. But in this instance, because of how I actually positioned everything, you would be seeing it do this. Now, in some instances, you won't have like the elbow come up all the way down like that or like that, because a lot of artists starting off have this problem where they feel like they need to show the entire like part of the body and not give any illusion to foreshortening. And foreshortening being shit like, you know, say like an arm is coming out and you have like a shorter range of like how you see everything, and like here's like a fist or whatever, and like you see the bicep is like that long, the fucking shoulder's out long, and then it just gets longer and longer a little bit. Like that's just perspective, right? So, but where in reality, of course, like the bicep area is like this long in comparison to this thing, comparison to that thing. That's what I mean by foreshortening. So you can kind of indicate that just about anywhere in the drawing where you have a perspective where the camera's kind of like the perspective is moving upwards like that. This is where the camera sort of is in a way, right? Or whatever. Like this is a very like lo and behold stance. So you come here with the little foreshortening of the forearm, and then you connect everything else, and there you have it. You have that kind of a stance, and indicate more of the cheek right there. I guess it's also kind of a face tutorial too in a way. And then you have this going on with like the eyes or whatever. The eyes I had were a bit more smug, I suppose. They were like fucking like this, right? They're like, yeah. You see the nose come out like that. Yeah, something like that. See that? And what? The ear would be like right here or whatever. You know, and you can just dress this up however you want afterward. But like also for like the booby situation would be something like this probably, where you have the one right here coming off to the side like this. It's more of a teardrop shape. This one will be way more like circular, circled out, and then like, you know, whatever nipple indication would just indicate that with some crosshairs. Just find the middle, and you just move it to wherever like the central point's gonna be or whatever. So there you have it for that pose. Now here's like this is gonna be kind of a basic masculine pose, I suppose. God. I don't like talking. I don't like talking. Let me scroll down here in my reference folder of things that I've drawn in days past to a pretty cool picture that I did that I really enjoyed doing of Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Yeah, right here. Here's a cool pose. Now this is where let me just I guess I'll just fucking put him right here, right? Now I come down here with this is the pose where he's just like pointing his finger. You know, it's the threatening finger pose. Now you make a circle to indicate the head. Strong boy, so you get a strong jaw. Strong jaw means like you get like that sort of a shape indicated. You have higher cheekbones and all that, which higher cheekbones always indicate like maturity in the character as well. Get the little crosshair situation going on here because the head's like tilted downwards. The ear would be around this area, and you know, strong boy has a strong neck, so fucking that'll like start around there or whatever, right? Now here's like the fun part, because like it's sort of similar to this where the shoulder is pointed up like that and all that, but let's see here, this because he's like picking up his finger to do all like the pose and everything. Here's where I'm gonna indicate sort of where like the arm ends, and it's not gonna be doing all this like that, or else you're gonna make like the whole rib areas feel like flat. Where you indicate the missing part of the arm right here, it would come out like this, and then you box it in like that. Because you know you have a whole back to accommodate for. You have like a lot of back muscles over there. So let me get in like the large ribs sort of indicated here. How's that? How's that in? Come down here with this. And here's what I really like about this pose is that there's a twist to it, literally. Like his chest is coming out like that. His hips are pointing like this, more or less. So again, you have like that twisty bit happening, and like the chest is sort of popping out a whole lot right there. And you know, the posing for JoJo characters is like astounding. It's really, really neat. When it comes to like posing and stuff like this, a lot of them, when you look at the manga or like in the show or stuff or whatever, like it's not incredibly like anatomically correct, but it has a lot of style and a lot of flair and a lot of flash to it. And again, we come down here with that letter K, that damned letter K or letter R. It's literally just the legs sort of situation, like kicking out like that. That's also another shape you want to put into some form of worship there. Now, along with just like, you know, like fucking triangles and circles and all that, it's all that leads to like dynamic stuff going on all over the place. So you come down with this, you get like the pectoral area sort of kind of flattened out on this plane right here, and then you have like this other plane where you have like the abdominals and like the end of the ribs and stuff. It's sort of indicated just a little bit right there, like that. And then you're coming down here, and this guy had like a belt on and stuff. He's like multiple belts, so I mean, that's about where like some of that illusion ends, I suppose, because that's what I drew over it. But like, here's the more intensive part, because you don't really see a lot of the arm right here because it's like hidden or whatever. So this is an instance where you don't have to draw any of the other part right there. You don't have to indicate he has like another arm right there. It's like, oh, well, they'll think he's like an amputee or something if I don't draw it. No. Again, a lot of young artists, and I see this all the time, they want to like squeeze every little thing into one drawing when it's not necessary to. Now, yeah, again, with the whole foreshortening thing, in this instance, if you're not sure where to put it, if you want to put the hand right here, right there, or like right there or whatever, any of those are fine. This is an interesting technique, and again, I'm not sure where I learned it, I forgot, but you can like spiral the arm out. Like you can kind of sketch a spiral outward to where you'd want to indicate where it would be. And here's something that you always want to do, where it's not just coming straight out or anything, because you know nothing's ever truly that straight when it comes to your like bones or any of your anatomy or anything like that, right? When it comes to an arm or anything, like if you pick up like a stick that looks straight, but then you look straight down the barrel of it, it's like, oh, it's got a lot of curves and bends to it. Same thing with an arm. So you're actually gonna let me have a place to put where like the finger's gonna be or whatever, right? Let me sketch that out. And here's something that's interesting, because this is also where like little triangle thing comes in handy, because it's not super duper straight or anything. It's like it kind of has like an elbow that comes out right there or whatever, right? I'll flesh out the forearm right here. And the finger actually comes down a little bit more like that, actually. Yeah. I was like, something looks wrong. Something looks a little bit wrong, a little bit too wrong right here. Now, this is just a simple sketch or whatever for the most part. It's really, really rough. But, you know, this is, again, just like the basic shapes of everything. And I'll get into, like, the line art stuff in, like, a separate anatomy video. But guys also kind of have a bit of a hip thing that pops out right there, too. Not too much, though. Not too terribly much of that. So that's the interesting indication that I wanted to give right here, that the arm does like that thing, but then the finger comes all the way back down and does that shit, see? So there's always like somewhat of a pattern, like a zigzag sort of thing. So it didn't just end up doing that or anything. There was always something to indicate that there was a lot more going on to sort of like you know, give context to the shape of it all. So I mean, you have all of that stuff going on. You have a lot of energy, a lot of character happening all at once with this particular boy. Just from the knees up, for the most part. When I get that color back, I'll extend it a little bit, right? Just for yous guys. I would imagine you come down here with the knees, and because the knees for guys shouldn't really buckle in, they always come out. This one will be more front facing. This one's definitely going to be like outwards like that. So you have like that right here, indicate a lot more calf muscle. And because he has like a stronger build, you won't just see the calf muscle on one side, you'll see them on both sides. If it's a weaker calf, you'll see like the calf muscle on just one side like that. If they're stronger, it'll bow out like that and stuff. It's going to be more heroic sort of looking, you know? You can kick down an elephant if they want to. Let me just sketch this out real quick. And because the dynamics of the stance is kind of like that, this is sort of what you're dealing with. So this is going to be the plane of where that foot leads, where that foot rests. The foot for here should rest around here as well. So I'm going to elongate that a little bit more, make the knee a bit higher here, make the knee a bit lower there. Lower here, higher there. And get the hoof situation right there as well. And then come down at this angle, you know, foot's going to be resting like that. And this foot's going to be doing more of this thing. Let me give him a little more space here. I'm really enjoying this, actually. I love poses like these if you can't fucking tell. So, this is what I'll do with this foot, actually. Where it looks kind of like, oh boy, let me try to clean that up a bit more. Yeah, like that. Okay, so, and let me put this right here. Let me explain my thought processes on that. Now, here's something I think is interesting with sort of like foot placement and all that. That again, I'm kind of creating this sense of like, oh, but I'm switching up, like it looks like it's moving in this direction, but I'm switching up sort of the angle of it, right? As you can see, the leg moves down like this, and so you'd imagine like the foot would also correspond to that shape right there. Like, oh, well, it's going out down that way, so maybe the foot will just face this way. It can, but it's a lot more stable to just sort of have it come out like this too. Which shows that there's a lot more weight on the heel, because that's the stopping point, so the rest of the foot can point this way as the leg is sort of dropping itself down in this direction. So unless you really, I mean, it's a lot easier to understand if you actually do these poses for yourself. Don't be afraid to look like a fucking lunatic just to get something right, like making faces, flexing your arms or whatever, doing whatever the hell you got to do to make sure you put a little bit more realism into whatever stance or so whatever the fuck that you have going on here. So I mean, you know, the legs coming out like that, foot points that way just to buckle this in, so there's more weight going this way, and then this is coming out way like in this direction, so the foot's gonna be, this foot will be pointing out like pretty far in that direction. That one doesn't have as much stopping weight on it. There's a lot more like, because the hips are this way, there's a lot more weight coming down on this leg specifically, but this one sort of like buckles the momentum of everything that way. But overall, the foot, like the stance is open like that, you know. It's like again, more triangles like hidden all over the place. This is sort of this is the class that you signed up for, everybody. So. So there you have it. Those are like the sides, and over here are the poses. God, it looks stupid. So that'll do it for part 2. Long ass video. Oh boy. God, oh boy, oh man, oh shit. So, that's about it for this part. I guess I'm not sure what to do for part 3. Whether I should get into some more complex stances, or I should get into a whole different sort of dynamic with this part of art. Honestly, I can save part 3 for like like after I do like a different simple tutorial of some kind. So there will for sure be more on anatomy. There will be for sure more on like line art and stuff, or I can do like a separate line art thing as opposed to just the anatomy thing, because line art will affect, you know, anything that you do. So just let me know, whether on here or on Twitter, or you know, wherever you think you can reach out to me, and I'll take a look at any other suggestions that you might have for future videos or something. Whatever I can do to help. You know, so check the links in the description for my other shit. I warn you now, if it wasn't clear by my fucking potty mouth, that there is more than meets the eye. What I have, there's a lot of porn there. Plenty of porn. A lot of porn. A lot of porn artists like me, and I like a lot of those porn artists, and I like to do a lot of things to, you know, reciprocate that relationship with them. So, yeah. Fuck off. Nah, that's too mean. So, yeah. Click subscribe and click away.